guys, it has been probably one of the most stressful days of my entire life. and that's a big thing because I have a pretty stressful life. I don't want to cry in this video, but I'm gonna tell you guys what happened and everything. So let's go for it. Sorry, I'm burping. Anyways, so this morning I was supposed to go to class. I have a color theory class, which is just like a painting class today. But I ended up not being able to make it. So basically I woke up, I put on some clothes, and the first thing I do every morning is take Marley to go pee and poop outside. And I mean, I take him out so often, like every single day. We do the same routine like 4, 5, 6 times a day. So I wasn't really expecting anything other than what we normally do in our routine. So if you are not familiar with me or this channel or my situation, I live in an apartment complex, and my mom lives about 20-25 minutes away, and she has a dog, Marley. But I get really homesick being here in California, so I take Marley a lot, and he stays with me a lot of the times. And he is such a blessing to my life because he's such a fun little guy. Like, he is so playful and goofy and silly and like excited. He has so much energy, but he's 7 years old. Everybody thinks that he's a puppy. Like, everyone thinks he's a puppy. He looks like a puppy, but he's 7 years old, and he's just, I love him to death. Anyways, so that's why he stays with me sometimes. Also, a part of the story is my mom and sister are back in Ohio for Thanksgiving because my sister had Thanksgiving break start a lot earlier than my Thanksgiving break. So I was supposed to fly out on a plane tonight to go back to Ohio, and I still am, but I thought I wasn't for a little bit. So I'm out here alone with Marley, and I was going to drop him off at a kennel after my art class, but this morning when I went to go take him to the bathroom, there was a couple out in the little yard area that I always take him to go to the restroom in the morning, and I saw there was a little dog, one little dog, and one really big pit bull. It was a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The boyfriend was literally holding on to the pit bull leash like for his dear life. Like it seemed like he was struggling, but I didn't think the dog was gonna attack my dog. I didn't think anything. I wasn't worried about the situation just because, you know, at my apartment complex they have very strict rules for dogs. Like I'm pretty sure you can't have any dogs over 40 pounds. You can't have aggressive dogs living here just because there's children. There's lots of little kids here. There's babies. There's more little dogs than people here. So they have very strict rules against dogs. So I wasn't worried about it because I had assumed that the dog was cleared with the apartment complex. So me and Marley are minding our own business. Marley is a little adventurer, so he's like sniffing around in the bushes, and I have my back turned to the other people because I am barefaced in my pajamas. Like I'm not trying to be social this morning. So I'm just minding my own business, walking Marley. He's sniffing around, and then out of nowhere, like that, freaking like the flash of light, Marley's in the bushes, and this dog has him by his head. This pit bull has him by his head. And I'm not here trying to say that pit bulls are bad dogs. Like, I'm not saying that the pit bull breeds are, or the pit bull breed is, you know, a mean killing dog. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this particular pit bull was extremely aggressive and was literally going to kill Marley. He was going to kill Marley if the owner didn't, like, literally jump on top of his dog. So he had jumped on. Okay, listen. So the pit bull is attacking Marley. Marley's crying. He's just going because obviously this dog is attacking him, and I was so in shock. I didn't even know what was happening because, like, it just happened so fast. And then all of a sudden, the owner, like, literally, like, leaped onto him and, like, just, like, so, and then Marley got away, and me and the lady who owned the dogs were checking Marley to see if he was okay. And at first, we didn't think anything was wrong until I realized, like, oh crap, I have blood all over my hands. Where's this blood coming from? And then we realized that his ear was just dripping blood everywhere. And I looked over at the pit bull and the guy, and he's legitimately laying on top of the dog, like laying on top of the dog to control it, or to make sure it doesn't get away and kill Marley. Like, this dog was going to kill Marley if the owner hadn't jumped on top of him. Like, that's the part that freaks me out, because Marley could have been dead today. Like, I could have had to take him. I don't even know. I don't want to think about it, but so I look over and the guy's literally laying on top of this dog because he can't control his dog. And I look at his hand, and his hands are all bloody too, because apparently he eventually had to go get stitches because he had puncture wounds in his hands. He had to get lots of stitches because his dog literally ate up his hand. And so I was so in shock. I didn't know what to do. In that very moment, the owner just gave me her phone number, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take him to the vet. And then I just walk away, and as I'm walking up the stairs to get back into my apartment, I just start bawling my eyes out, like, uncontrollably, because that situation was just so chaotic and so out of the blue. I didn't even know how to handle myself. Like, that was so scary. And I was looking at Marley, and he was just bleeding. He had blood all over his ear, blood, like, on the top of his head, because he kept, like, fluffing his ears, and he has really big fluffy ears, so his ears were, like, flopping. He was, like, trying to flop it around because it was irritating him. So the blood was just getting all over the top of his head and the back of his head and stuff. And I was just bawling my eyes out. And I immediately looked up an emergency vet hospital, and I was just crying and crying and crying. But I had already like packed Marley's food and food for a couple of days, because I was gonna be taking him to a kennel today, because I'm leaving for a flight in like an hour. So I snatched the food just in case. I snatched everything that I could, and I got in the car still bawling my eyes out. Marley at this point is kind of delusional to what happened. I think he was, like, in shock. I mean, he was flapping his ear because it was irritating him that he literally had holes in his ear. But at that point, he wasn't crying or whimpering because I think he was still, like, trying to process what happened. So then I'm crying the entire 20-minute drive to the emergency hospital, and I'm just like driving really fast because I was really scared. I felt so bad for Marley. I was just crying because this poor little dog that has never hurt a soul. He is the most kind, little, playful, little puppy in the whole world. And it just broke my heart seeing him that way. So then we get to the emergency room, and I had collected my tears. But as soon as we walked in the door of this emergency clinic, I just start bawling my eyes out again, and I'm like, this dog attacked my dog. Can you please help? Can you please help him? And at first the lady's like not expecting me to be so emotional, and then she looks down at Marley and sees like, oh crap, he's bloody. And then she takes Marley right away and puts me into a little waiting room, like when you're at a doctor's office for like a human checkup. There was like a checkup room like that, but at a pet hospital. So I'm sitting in this checkup room. I'm freaking out because Marley just got attacked. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm supposed to be leaving on a flight tonight. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So then the doctor comes back in and is like, okay, he has lacerations about 2 to 3 inches long, and he's got a couple of them on his ear. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, he's gonna need immediate surgery. He's gonna need a pain shot. He's gonna need pain medicine, all this stuff. And I'm sitting there like, what, okay. So I processed everything, and I was like, okay, do whatever you can, do it. I don't care at this point. I don't care about how much it costs. Do whatever you can, because they have to ask you, like, is it okay if we give Marley a pain shot? It'll be $60. I'm like, yes, do whatever you can. She's like, is it okay if we trim his ear a little bit? Like, trim the hair off of his ear because he has fluffy ears. And I'm like, of course, trim the hair off so you can better understand what's going on. I was like, do whatever you can to help my little guy. And then, so basically she comes back and says that this type of procedure is really complicated because the ear on dogs, or the ear on my dog, Marley, a Labradoodle, it's not a fleshy, thing on the body. It's just cartilage. So it's hard to stitch cartilage because it's not flesh, it's not like a fleshy material that will stitch easily. So she was like, we can't do the surgery here because they didn't feel comfortable doing that type of surgery. So she sent me to a specialist or a vet specialist, which is like the more, I don't know. So she sent me to a vet specialist with Marley. I had to pay that bill at that place. Then I take Marley to the vet specialist, which is like literally right across the way. And I walk in, like, still trying to collect my tears, and me and Marley are sitting in another doctor's, a little, like, a patient room for another, like, 25 minutes. And at this time, Marley had his pain shot, and I could immediately tell the difference in his attitude. He was pacing back and forth. I had his leash on him, but he was just pacing back and forth, like, right in front of my knees. He had a hard time standing up, but he didn't want to sit. He did not want to sit, but, like, his back legs kept trying, like, they kept trying to sit, but then right when they would about to be pop right back up. And then he was just drooling from his mouth, like, everywhere, like, dripping from his mouth all over the place. And Marley doesn't drool. Like, Marley does not drool. He's not a drooling dog. So that was weird. And immediately his attitude was just so different. And he was whimpering. like really soft little cries, and it just broke my heart. So we were waiting for 25 minutes, which I'm not saying like they should have been faster, because they were doing the best they can. It's the day before Thanksgiving. All the places were booked up. Oh, that's what I forgot in the story. When I was at the first hospital, I was calling the kennel that we were originally supposed to board Marley, and they're like, oh, sorry, because the kennel that we were boarding Marley is also a hospital, and they're like, sorry, our doctor is booked. Do you want me to cancel your kenneling? And I'm like, yes, because he needed to have a surgery. It's not like I was just gonna drop him off the kennel like with a freaking like bloody ear. No. So I was trying to look at all these places that had kenneling at a pet hospital, and I called 2 other places. They were all booked for the holidays, and they couldn't even have the surgery done there either. So at this point I was like, okay, I'm not going home for Thanksgiving. I have to stay here. He's gonna have the surgery at this hospital, but this hospital doesn't do boarding, so it's just a hospital. So he's gonna have his procedure, and I'm gonna pick him up, and we're gonna just hang out until Mom and Julie get back home, and then I'll just see my family at Christmas. Like, it'll be fine. I'll just see Isaac at Christmas. But I was just bawling my eyes out because I was so excited to go home for Thanksgiving. But at the end of the day, like, Marley's health matters more than me going home for Thanksgiving, you know, like my dog is hurt, you know. So back to the other part of the story, we are now at the new doctor's place, and they help us out amazingly. The doctor comes in, super nice Australian doctor. I was explaining my story. I was like, listen, I'm a college student, like, I'm trying to go home for Thanksgiving. Or I wasn't saying I'm trying to, I said I was going to go home for Thanksgiving because I live in Ohio, I'm a college student, but, you know, Marley's health is more important. And that's when he was like, oh my gosh, he can board here. And I was like, I thought you guys didn't do boarding. And he's like, we don't, but I'll bend the rules for you because I want you to go home for Thanksgiving. And that's when I was just like, thank you, Jesus. All the prayers were answered. Everybody praying for Marley, because I had tweeted out, you know, asking for prayer and a quick recovery for Marley, and the prayers were answered because Marley was able to have his surgery and stay at that specialist hospital, so he's getting all professional care as he recovers, which is honestly probably better than him being home with somebody that doesn't know how to care for a wounded animal. So Marley is there right now. He had his surgery an hour ago, and the doctor called me and was like, he had 4 lacerations. They were really difficult to suture, but we ended up finishing the surgery. Marley is doing fine, and yeah, hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Call us if you have any other questions or if you want to check up on Marley. And I was like, thank you so much. Great news. Thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving too. So I don't know. That's the story. But basically, it was traumatizing for me and for Marley. It's just been a really long day, and I'm just like really excited to go home, but I'm also really anxious for Marley. I just want this little guy to get better. I don't want him to feel any pain. Like, the boy does not deserve that. Oh, and also I had the complications of the owners not wanting to pay for Marley's surgery. So because the wounds or the lacerations were on his ear, that's a complicated surgery, and that's why we were denied at the emergency hospital, because it's a complicated surgery. So obviously it's going to be expensive. So the surgery came out to be either between $2,400 and $3,500 for the surgery, which is insane. but I mean, the lady has to pay it because her dog attacked my dog. So like it's literally like the law that she has to pay for my dog's surgery because her dog attacked my dog. So I had all complications with her not wanting to pay the bill and her saying, can you go to a different vet or can you go to a different hospital because that's too expensive? And I'm like, no, I'm not going somewhere else. This is the hospital I'm at. This is where he's getting treatment. Like, I'm not prolonging his pain any longer. That's not an option. So I had to get my dad involved because my dad is definitely more straightforward and more like point across, because I get kind of uncomfortable when there's tension or fighting going on. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. So I had my dad talk to her and he's like, we're gonna sue you if you don't pay this bill. Like, we can legally sue her if she doesn't pay the bill because her dog attacked my dog. Anyways, that was all resolved. She ended up giving in and she went in and paid the bill. But long story short, long story short, it was a really stressful day, but it ended up being okay. I believe that God never gives you more than you can handle. So, you know, I think that was the brink of what I could handle for today. And I see it now as like a teaching moment, like for when I bring my little puppy home. I haven't told you guys yet, or on the vlog, but I told Twitter and like Instagram and everywhere else, but I recently bought a puppy and I get to pick him up at 10 weeks old. I'm picking him up over Christmas break and then eventually going to be bringing him here with me after Christmas break. So I think today was, like, I see it as, wow, today was a sucky day, but you know what? I learned how to react in a serious situation when somebody else is hurt, because when somebody is hurt, I feel their pain. Like, I'm the type of person, like, if somebody's sad, I'm sad too because I feel so bad, you know? So, I see it as a learning thing. Like, I learned how to react in an emergency. I learned how to, you know, make adult decisions when I wasn't expecting to, and being able to take care of an animal and take charge in, you know, getting what's right for my animal as well. So at the end of the day, I'm, you know, reflecting on trying to see the good in the situation. I'm really, really, really happy that I'm able to go back to Ohio for Thanksgiving. I think that that was a God thing as well. When everyone was telling me, sorry, we're booked, sorry, we're booked, at the last second, this place was like, we'll take them in. We don't ever do this, but for you, we will, because we feel bad for your situation. So, yeah, that's my story. I should probably get going soon. Catch my red-eye flight. I'll most likely be sitting in the middle seat between two people that hog both armrests. The flight from California to Ohio is rough. It is freaking rough. I hate it. I hate it so much, but I do it because I miss Isaac and I miss my family and I want to have Thanksgiving dinner with people. I don't want to sit in my apartment for Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's my story. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.